we're looking to go even as far as the qualification for 35. All right. So as our chairman said, we very much have got our eyes on 2029. So 4 years from now, we're looking at the requalification. We need to go out and do well in 2027. But there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done for 2029. So it's also something I've learned. If you don't want to be fired quickly, make sure you've got a 4-year plan so you guys can stay in a job. So we're all working on that. What we don't want, just the thought behind that, we've obviously got a couple of aging boys. If you're just looking at our 8th man, 33-year-old Fraser Mudariki, our captain, is 32. Pryor at Fly-Off is 35. Mashawi is 33. It's going to be really silly for us to run these guys into the ground and we get to 2029. BMAC. If we run these guys into the ground and we get to 2029 and whoever's the coach at the time, we just say good luck and God bless. All right. So just to let you guys know that there's a long-term plan also. We've got a lot of young guys. We are looking at who are the people to replace those people. How many caps do we think they need? How much activity can we generate so that everybody arrives in at least 2029 in a good space? Thanks, Linz. As we mentioned, everybody's talking about sort of where we are and where we're going. So a couple of the slides today will just be our plan that we've got now, but it's mostly assessing, is there a gap and how do we close that gap? All right. Thanks, Linz. What we are looking at is obviously in high performance environments, we've got the guys in the URC and the Champions Cup. Guys are playing almost 35 matches a year. So what we've done with technical and from the start of last year, we took responsibility for generating activity. All right. So whether that was us taking control or having contact with the boys from the start of the year. So 6th of Jan this year we were in. We organized our own internal games nice and early. We had the Nedbank Challenge. We've obviously got the domestic stuff to come. We have relationships with our under-20s and very closely aligned with our 7s. So everybody there is on the same page. We've recently started the domestic franchise competition, so that was just finishing off this year. We had the Grid Cup, and we've just finished a testing and a screening battery for now. As mentioned at the start of the year, domestic club rugby will take place. It's obviously something that we need to improve just from the club side, just getting those levels up. We are very invested in pathways for our local players to play for the Sables. The easiest way there, and certainly in our best interest, was to get matches against Botswana and Zambia. All right, so if we play local versus local, those are nice competitive matches. It's in our interest for them to improve because they're probably not threatening us in a qualification tournament, but we get a lot of benefit from helping them. What we're looking for in June is to play against the Africans, the Central Africans. Uganda and Kenya are obviously powerhouses on our continent, and we always have Namibia who are going to be strong. So we're hoping to get them in an inbound tour or a Victoria Cup kind of tournament in June. Okay. What happens in July? Those are the fixtures which are 100% confirmed. We will be heading across to America. We will play Tonga, USA, and Canada. Okay, so the first half of the year is going to be nice and busy. As we look to, we obviously have November are also guaranteed test matches. So over there we will play Samoa, Chile, and Uruguay. It will be in Europe or England. So as prep for that, we've been chatting and working with Steph, just getting relationships organized to possibly head down south and play against the cheetahs in the Toyota Challenge. We have Portugal and Georgia also with representative teams there. So those relationships are starting to build. Looking forward to that. 2027, again, very similar in our build-up. In the July window, we could be inviting Tier 2 teams to come and play even in Zim. All right, so big point for us is getting home content for our fans, for everybody here to be watching and seeing the Sables play in front of a home crowd. Next clip, Linz. Obviously, the years will mirror each other, okay, but 2029 requalification is the big goal. There, as I just mentioned earlier, we are looking at making sure that all our boys are ready for what's coming. 2030, I think there's qualifications for Sevens Olympics and stuff. By that point, we want a couple of high performance programs to be running, including the women. All right, so at the moment, it's probably the men that we are focused on, but very soon we start bringing in sevens, under 20s, and the women, just taking everybody to the next level. Okay, thanks, Linz. As I mentioned, it's important just to know where we are at the moment. 2026, if we've decided where we are heading, and again, this is a collaborative effort with all the national coaches that are here. Today, I will try and present a little bit of a picture what we're going to have to cope with later on, and probably early in Jan, we can get together and really dig into a detailed game model that Sables require. Okay, so I've got my own ideas, but there's a lot of excellent, brilliant minds here. I'm going to try not to contaminate you. When we sit, I would like to hear from everybody what is needed. Okay, obviously building the team, 2027, we need to be in pretty decent shape. Okay, so while there needs to be a peak in 29, there needs to certainly be a peak in 27 for what's coming. Thanks, Liz. The macro plan, we've got players all over the place. Today's little message will just be around the game model, training model, technical and physical. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some information. Together we digest it and we see what is happening at the level where we are going to. Thanks, Linz. Identifying performance gaps, monitoring strategy. So next year, we obviously have a lot of players all over the world. So there's a lot of work goes into that. Just keeping relationships with those players, with their SNCs, with their coaches, making sure that we get access to boys, and when we get access to them, that they're in good shape. The education side, guys, so this is part of it. So I don't think anybody has been in a meeting like this. All right, so it's super cool that we can get together as coaches, as there's people who help us getting information through to you, and also for us to learn from each other. Okay, so the education part is super important for next year. Thanks, Linz. Again, just touching on everything. A big part for us, just improving or taking things to a new level. Training sessions, making sure that they are measured, and that we are training to match the demands of World Cup intensity. Okay, so what we'll do is show you the shape of the game and stats that are happening at tier 1 level, and perhaps where we are as Africans or Zimbabweans, and what can we do to close that gap. Thanks, Linz. Obviously, as I said, there needs to be a peak in 2027. Hopefully by then all the work is coming together. The iron versus iron point there is just when we bring boys in for camp, everything is always budget orientated. As Paddy said, we need to do the most with what we've got. We don't just fly in 40 people so that the camp is competitive. We have a big investment in the local boys so that their level comes up. All right. So if we raise the level of them and the top boys come in, they've got decent people lifting, tackling, rucking in the camps, making sure everybody is part of a system that is driving high performance. Cool. Our game model, if we're trying to pick an area where we are able to match, it's probably around just the sheer athleticism that we should have in our country. All right, the athletes, the physical specimens, I think we see them all the time. If people are heading into gyms, you're always looking and you're seeing some impressive humans. Okay, the same happens if you go to sports days or basketball courts. All the teachers, we've got athletes that can cope at a high level. All right, and it's not as if the pipeline stops. We're still getting the Vernon Matongas, we're getting the Kloppies, we're getting the Blythes. So our schools are still producing. It's not like we have to look back at the 90s and say things stopped. The people are still in the schools. Happy. So you guys are dealing with the next group. Everybody who are age groups. The 2031, the Edisi Gauke of 2031 is probably sitting with Brighty in the 14s there. All right, so everybody has got very important jobs delivering players who are of a certain standard. Cool. What's the difference playing top teams? We're going to have a look now. We are headed somewhere a little bit crazy, okay? And miracles do happen. And I thought this was quite funny because who are the ugly guys here? Max. Maybe, Max, there's definitely an evening you were out and there was somebody who was a little bit out your league, but the door was open. And maybe you panicked and you didn't have your shit together and we lost the opportunity. All right. What we don't want, guys, is not being prepared. All right. So on to the next one, Linz. So now we just look at what are the top people doing. Okay. And how do we get there? Next one. We will look at ball in play, kick strategy, what's happening in a breakdown, scoring efficiency, set piece, and then discipline. So these are World Rugby stats. Okay, so it's not me doctoring stuff to try and paint a picture. This is what we were shown, and obviously we're sitting in a room with all the other tier 2 people and a couple of high performance directors, and as the stats come up, I'm going to show them to you now, so that we just know where we're at and what's happening at the top. Okay, so the first one, it's not super clear, and I don't mind sharing this with you. So if anybody needs this stuff, just pop me a message. Ball in play. Okay, so as we know, in an 80-minute match, the ref will blow the whistle and you'll be moving, and then he'll blow the whistle to stop, and everybody stops, and we get into a scrum, or there's a line out, or there's a penalty. So in an 80-minute match, on the far side there, the high end, is Six Nations. There's November Tour, which is Tier 1 teams playing against each other. The Rugby Championship. So there's 38 minutes is sort of on the high end. Okay, so if you're playing for 80 minutes, you're probably only going to, if a match is 80 minutes, you're probably only playing rugby for 40 minutes max. Okay, so there's a lot of time to rest. Half the time you're walking around. Okay, getting ready, there's time to recover. Okay, so as we go down the graph, the second last one is Rugby Africa. Rugby Africa is sitting at 31 minutes. Okay, so we're getting a low amount of rugby in on the 80 minutes. Okay, just remember in that, let's call it 30 minutes, half is attack, half is D. Okay, so you're probably only attacking with a rugby ball for 15 minutes. Okay, and you're on defense for 15 minutes. Okay, those are very general, but it's you can work on that. Happy. As we're saying, so if there's a 10-minute gap with ball in play, and we know that it's a minute on, minute off, it's almost like playing an extra 20 minutes for Africans. Understand? So what's happening in the Six Nations, they're fitting an extra 20 minutes into that 80 minutes of rugby. Okay, so intensity is just through the roof. I thought I'd put this one in, just in case technical want to fire you. Toulouse head coach, he said the ball in play, this is after they lose the semi-final. So he says, listen, the ball in play in the Champions Cup is 40 minutes, top 14 is 32. And he said his guys were not ready to match. Okay, so whether it's your training, whether it's your tournaments, if we're looking at the Paramount League, somebody's trying to prepare themselves, we need to, how do we get ball up if you're going to Craven Week and the ball is up? Or in our case, we're going to play England and we need to cope with a 40-minute ball in play. All right. Thanks, Linz. So again, just working around activity cycle. So when the whistle blows, how long does the game go on for? Until the whistle blows again, until there's a mistake. All right. As you see, Africa is leading the pack. Well, we are on top. Activity cycles above 60 seconds, we're the lowest. Okay. So we don't go above 60 seconds more than the number there is 6 times. Okay, so we're struggling to get past a minute. Okay, our average activity cycle, Rugby Africa, is at the bottom. Okay, we're 23 seconds. So we're struggling to get past 23 seconds before whistle blows. Okay, but so just for your training, the average activity cycle is 30 seconds. Okay, so if you can train for 30 seconds, make sure your drill is working, everybody is active for 30 seconds on, 30 off, you're not in a bad space. All right, you're not doing bad. Obviously, the intensity in that 30 needs to be good. We know that worst case scenario, rugby is sort of like a minute on, minute off. Okay, as you see, the longest that you might be busy for, the Six Nations, there was a phase for almost 4 minutes. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you can only just do train at 30 seconds and then have a break. There's also periods where you're going to be stretched a little bit. Cool. Thanks, Linz. This is a technical one. So kick strategy, if you look at that, kicks per match, who's kicking the most? Okay, the top guys. How many kicks are contestable? So that middle, I'm not sure if you can see, the middle column is what percentage of the kicks are contestable. So those are kicks which are probably attacking kicks, or you're trying to win the ball back. So you're often kicking on your terms. Okay. Very far down the line, most of the top teams are kicking almost half. So 51 or 48% are contestable kicks. Rugby Africa is at 23%. Okay, so it's obviously a general one, but this is very true. If you go to a Paramount weekend, you'll probably not see any contestable kicks a whole weekend. People are hoofing the ball long, trying to make tackles. Okay. Why is kicking important? 11 of 44 tries come from kicks, almost a quarter. It is a quarter. Okay, my PE maths is not the best, but kicking is important because a quarter of tries, 25%, 25%, Maxi, are coming from kicking. Okay, so how much time are we spending on kicking as coaches? Cool. Breakdown on collision. So this just goes again to activity and are we going to cope? We're Africa Rugby again at the bottom. Okay, 117 rucks per game, where in November they were at 183. Okay, so there's a lot of extra work that gets done with the top guys there. How many times do we get past the third phase? Okay, we are leading the wrong way. Okay, so Rugby Africa, 83% is 3 phases or less. Okay, so only 25 we're getting past the third phase. Okay, and this is certainly a case, it happened in a Sables game where we played bots, super frustrating. Second half, you're trying to score and somebody's doing something funky after the first phase and there's a drop ball. Well, I think we had 4 or 5 set pieces, we couldn't get a second phase going. And it wasn't because any good D, it was just guys being silly. All right, so just learning to build pressure. Thanks, Linz. Scoring efficiency. Entries into the 22 and what percentage does it lead to points? So Africa is again the far end. Okay, if our goal is in 2029 to go to Africa Cup and qualify, and we shift all our metrics across, okay, as we've just said, the ball in play, the kicking, all our activity, and that can come from controlled training also. If we move our needle across and then we go and drop ourselves into a competition in 2029 and everybody is still here, we should be fine. Understand? But there's a little fundamental shift that needs to take place just around our approach. Is the line out important? 55% of all tries come from lineouts. Okay, it's a lot. It actually crept up to Six Nations 58, so almost 6 out of 10 tries come from a lineout source. Okay, so when we have penalties, it should equal a lineout, but often in Zim we're tapping. Okay, so we're having a crack, we're staying away from lineouts. Why? Okay, it's difficult to coach. Maybe we don't understand, we're not coaching them all well. Quite interesting. Scrum, only 14% of tries come from scrum. Okay, we'll hit that one later. So if you only look at that, you'll be like, maybe we don't have to spend as much time on the scrum. But I'll show you that the scrum is, if you do an autopsy after a loss, often the cause of death will be your scrum. Thanks, Linz. Things to consider, so just around the set piece, percentage of lineouts won. Okay, we're again at the bottom, so we're sitting on 77%, Rugby Africa. If we look at scrums per match, the average is 11 or 10 in the top competitions. There's 11 scrums, you're probably going to get 5 on your feed. Okay, For Rugby Africa, the average scrums is 17. So there's a big jump there, so why? Okay, probably Brighton's handling drills are not working at Saints there. Next one, Lens. Discipline. Rugby Africa on the top. Average penalties, 28. Okay, so quite high. What's important here, where do the penalties come from? Where are you penalized? Okay, at the breakdown is 36%. It's a very large number, or a big percentage. And then, so all of you guys as national coaches, how much time are you spending at the breakdown? Okay, because almost 1/3, just above max, are coming from breakdown. So are you spending 1/3 of the time at breakdown? Okay. The scrums, which were so little, okay, there's not even a lot of scrums. But look at the amount of penalties that come from scrummaging. Okay, so if your scrum is not sorted, 20% of all penalties come from a scrum. Okay, so technically, you need somebody in your tech team who understands scrummaging. Okay, who's helping boys develop. Okay, we know that so this is from a discipline side. What happens when you get penalized? You defend a line out, and 55% of all tries come from that line out. All right, so from our side, big focus on the scrum and the breakdown. It should be in all the session plans. All right. As we see, the line out is not a big danger on penal or discipline, but it's a danger obviously from conceding points. And if your line out is not organized, you are letting a big avenue of potential points not come to you. Thanks, Lenz. This is a little bit difficult for you to see. So these are our stats. Okay, from just at the bottom, it's even a bit difficult for me, but I know the stats. The bottom one is scrums won on our own ball. Okay, so we're at 96% at the Africa Cup. So we invested heavily in our set piece, just because that is the foundation for us. Okay, so as I mentioned the penalties at the scrum, the last play for us to qualify was a scrum penalty. All right, so if you start defending or you stuff that up and it's a penalty the wrong way, you get yourselves into trouble. So we won 96% of our scrums on our put-in. The stat just above that is the average line-out stealing. Okay. So the average for the tournament, or just backlands, the average for the tournament is 24%. Okay, and we're sitting at 42. So the opposition line-out success rate on their side was 68. Is it 68, Pimek? Sub 70. Okay. I'm wrong even. 58. Okay. So opposition, when they play us, are only winning 58% of their ball. Okay, that's largely due to who we had in charge of lineouts and who was in charge of our lineout contesting. Our lineout win ratio was on par with the tournament at around 77%, which is a little bit low. There are a couple of reasons for that, perhaps. Thanks, Linz. Oh, sorry. Yeah, can you just pop back quick? Just so there's a tournament average on the top. So the top right there's tournament averages. We can't see nicely now, but in all the rucks, points scored, points against, discipline, we are above average. Okay, last one, Linz. Here is just the ball in play. So we saw that in Rugby Africa, the ball in play was 31. So top right, 31. Zimbabwe's ball in play was 34-45. Okay, so we were trying to keep the ball in play because we thought we had better rugby players. We thought that we were fitter. Okay, so if you are playing cricket and a T20, you can be the worst. You can maybe be the weaker player or the weaker team and still sneak a win because of the short nature of things. I think it's the same with like a tennis analogy. If you're playing a 5-setter, the best guy is going to come through. If you're playing a 3-setter and you get a good start, you can get something done. Okay, so that's where the sevens is short. If you think you're better, you want more rugby to happen. Okay, because your quality will come through. So I'm not. This is a different discussion. Also, so when you play Africans, do we want more rugby? Probably yes. If we're playing the All Blacks, probably not. Okay, so those are things. I don't know. I think when I was at school, I was at Rondebosch, and you're playing against like a Paul Roos, and it's running time. They come into your school, so you tell them, listen, it's running time. We're playing 25 minutes, and kick off 8 a.m. It must be dark. And you have one rugby ball there, and you kick the ball out, and the first scrum, your prop must lie down, and just before they take him off, he gets up and he plays again, and the ref who you've appointed calls everybody in and has a chat, and if there's a knock on, you don't play advantage, you blow the whistle. Okay, so you make sure that in that 50 minutes there's probably like 10 minutes ball in play. Okay. And when the first team plays at the end of the day, they say, shit, you lost 14-25. Like, yeah, boys were good. Meanwhile, the other guys hardly could play. All right, so this is just a discussion around ball in play. But if we are looking at 2029 and we want to develop a game model with high ball in play, we probably need to suck it up and take our beatings against the top guys. Thanks, Linz. Just a little thing, it's a bit small, just where we are and where we want to be. And as Paddy said, you need to jump. Okay, so you might be safe on our little area. If you want to be somewhere else and there needs to be some growth, we need to be brave enough to take a leap there. Thanks, Linz. So, just knowing where we're going and what the top guys are doing, very important that we've got the information. So we can't act dumb and go and say we don't know. Okay, we've got people that go out and they know what your GPS needs to be buzzing at, how many contacts you need to make per minute, how fast you need to run, what heart rates need to be at, what distances you need to cover. Okay, it's our responsibility to get that information. If you don't have the information, we find somebody who can tell us. Okay, we know, okay, what the game demands are. You can't just tell your guys go and cope with the game demand if you're not doing it at training. Okay, so training to those demands is super important. Reviewing sessions and stuff, picking metrics. Often you can be dumped a million stats. So the slides I took out now, guys, it's 10%. All right. So it's also up to us to choose what we need to look at and what we think is important. Thanks, Linz. Okay, so just around the game model. So it's not. I'm not going to tell you what line out to use or how to scrum, how to attack, what shape to use right now. Okay, but there's a couple of basic points that need to be in place. From our athletic strengths, I think that is the base. Okay, set piece. Hopefully, we've seen how important it is. Okay, if you don't have a scrum, you can pack your stuff up. You're hoping for miracles to happen. Okay, if your line out is not functioning, you are giving away 60% of where tries come from. Okay, so the set piece is it's something that needs to be focused on. Okay, just a couple of adjectives there. Clean, fast attacking ball. We need stability and accuracy. Okay, if that thing is going backwards, again, we are now just we're just hoping for luck. Defense. Defense ties into transitions. Okay, I think we must defend to score. Okay, so you're sort of attacking on D. Transitions is just where the ball suddenly changes position. Somebody's organized, somebody's not organized. And I think this is where we thrive. Okay. Mindset, I think super important is just the physicality, embracing physical challenges. It's something that in rugby, if you're going to get bullied, it doesn't matter how technical you are. Okay, you will come second. Okay, so this aggressive, hungry, and intentional mindset. We are new boys to this little party, so there shouldn't be any lack of motivation from the Sables side, first of all, and then from you guys, you can use us to motivate boys to say, this is where you need to go, this is what level you need to be at. Cool. Thanks, Linz. Core philosophy, running ability, just being bold, okay? Just because playing in the right areas, for example, it's a common thing. Some of you guys will say, play in the right areas. Okay, what if they put 5 people back? Now the right area to play is here. Okay, so just heads up rugby within our little setups. Thanks, Linz. This is basically the outcome, guys. High tempo rugby. Okay, so we need to up our tempo. I'm looking specifically at 2029, where if we are doing 80 more rucks than what the Ugandans or Kenyans or Namibians are used to, we are fine. Okay. Efficient set piece, we covered. More time with ball in play. Chatting with the World Rugby people, one of the messages was that the Springboks don't want high ball in play. Okay, so they're actually pulling things back a little bit. Those stats are the English or the Irish or whoever trying to beat them, so that game is automatically sucked up into a higher ball of play. So high ball in play doesn't equal success all the time. There are teams that are trying to keep it at their little comfort level. You understand? They may be more happy with the set piece, going set piece to set piece and resting a little bit. Okay, I think we need high ball in play because we see the Africans in general do not do that. Okay, so the further we move away, the better our chances of success. Obviously, the more activity, forcing opponents into fatigue and mistakes. Everybody's good at the start. The moment they stop folding or stop pushing, then obviously our athletes come into the game. Balance system, so super important, guys. The structure is very important because you need organization to be able to move fast. Okay, for the player to run to a spot quickly, he needs to know where he needs to be. Okay, so that's where your tempo attack comes from. Knowing where he needs to run on defense, equally important. So there we need very detailed structure or guidelines around where people need to be. Obviously the team culture that thrives on physicality, again guys, I will use this word all the time with what before matches, at training, physicality is something that people need to embrace. Okay, so it should be in all your talks if possible. Speed and resilience under pressure. Okay, so socially we are resilient. We need to just make sure that we are transferring this very good aspect onto the rugby field. Okay, we are very nice people, but as Zimbabweans in general, but I think it's important that we go out and we dig out we dig out those little animals that exist everywhere, and that we really embrace them. Okay, because those are you need violent, competitive humans on the rugby field. Okay, we are, as you see, I've not told you what to do. Okay, I think it's very important that as a group of national coaches and even the club guys, we come in and we really dig into this in depth. What do our tournaments look like? And this goes to referees. I said to Linz, during COVID, there was a Curry Cup, and the one ball in play stat it was a Bulls versus Lions game was 26 minutes. And Rassi called everybody in and was like, listen, this is useless. It's not helping any of these guys prepare for a 40-minute ball in play. And they called the guys in, they told them, listen, you need to start playing advantage, you need to set rucks quicker, you need to stop kicking the ball out. Referees are also responsible, or their partners, in this kind of thing. Organizers. I was coaching at OH, you kick a ball out, sometimes you fast forward the video, you push that plus 30 seconds 4 times before a ball comes. Okay, we've seen the signal, the refs, asking for the ball, and then you're looking at your ball bag and you've got your nice Gilbert and you've got the shit one. You know that the ball that you're throwing on is not coming back. Okay, so you make a decision and you chuck the shitty ball out, it's half pumped up, now the quality of the game is bad. Okay, so there's organization, everybody's a partner in all of this. Happy? Any questions, guys? Or thoughts from your side? I'm excited about what can happen in Jan for everybody to sit together.
Can we do that at the end?
Cool. Happy?
Yeah, you'll have an opportunity, guys, at the end.
Perfect.